Good morning this morning, my love muffins.
Good morning.
And good morning, my cyberspace love muffins and my snowbird love muffins have had the audacity to go north. We miss you already. Know the truth?
The truth shall set you free.
And so we new thoughters say, if we're not free, then truth has not been spoken. So learning the truth is not enough to set us free. It adds to our knowledge, but it doesn't add to our knowing. And declaring the truth and saying we believe it is not enough to set us free. That's simply a statement of principle. If we wish to live the truth of who we are, we must become conscious of the truth of who we are. Meaning we have to fill our minds and our hearts with it. And we have to think it, and we have to speak it, and we have to feel it. Knowing the truth that will set us free is about transformation. It's about embodying the truth. Giving body to it. Actually experiencing it. And editing out who we are not. Editing out the untruths. So I'm always posing the question myself of how are we doing at embodying the truth? How far are we from this transformation that they talk about? From living and evidencing the truth that will actually set us free. Well, let's face it, learning the truth is sure easier than embodying the truth and living the truth. Actually experiencing it in our day-to-day life. Did you hear that? Let's face it. I've heard let's face it a lot this week. Let's face it is actually something that's said before saying something that's unpleasant, but true. That's usually the meaning of let's face it. I was out shopping with Denise. We were at Marshall's. And we, they have a whole line of cash registers, and we happened to be at the one right by the exit door. And all of a sudden, we heard our cashier going, whoa, 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 wait a minute. And there was a man coming through the store with a cart piled, filled with stuff, just headed to the exit door. And out he went, and 90 miles an hour into his car, threw everything in the back of his car, and took off. Before anybody could really process what was going on. And I think one of the people that worked in the store stood there and tried to get a license plate But I found myself when I was sharing the story later saying, let's face it, the world's just a whole lot crazier than it's ever been before. Let's face it. I was talking about the election, a subject everybody is afraid to talk about. Though I'm one of the rare people that don't get stirred up over politics and the election and have the ability to actually peacefully examine both sides. But I was saying, I don't know how you get information nowadays because the news and everything is just so corrupt. I mean, let's face it. Now Capital America can own and pick and choose what they put on there. So let's face it. You can't believe anything that you hear anymore. Let's face it, proclamation of truth. I've said this one more than I actually care to admit. Let's face it, we're not getting any younger. I don't know if that's one I want out there. Ouch, I resemble that remark. So I wonder why I experience I'm not getting any younger. Speaking the truth or speaking an untruth? Let's face it, it's easier to speak the truth about our physical selves and our worldly experiences than it is to speak with conviction the higher truth, the invisible truth that is our nature from within. Know the truth?
The truth shall set you free.
So if we're not free, the truth has not been spoken. So how am I doing embodying the truth? How far away am I from transformation? I suspect I have a ways to travel. Esther Hicks I was listening to last week and had does anybody hear any feedback but me? Is it only in my ear? Because I'm hearing an echo. Okay. Had a little presentation relative to this that I really liked. And I'll paraphrase, but she says, the thing that keeps us from all the way to where we want to be is where we are. What do we think constitutes the majority of our beliefs that we focus on in any one day? What is? We look around and we see that, we believe it. We look around and we see that, we believe it. We look around and we see that, and we believe it. We see our bank account, and we believe it. We see the bills come in, and we believe it. We look in the mirror and see wrinkles, we believe it. Reality is so believable because we're experiencing it through our physical senses. And most people would call it completely illogical for us to believe something that hasn't already manifested, that isn't a part of the visible, physical universe, our physical reality. They would actually, I've been a counselor for my whole career, they would actually call such a person delusional. And they'd say, we have to face reality. And they don't understand when we say, we're not facing reality, we're creating reality. Because most people are recreating the reality that they're facing. They face it, and they recreate it. They face it, and they recreate it. Until they get so many beliefs that are so powerful that they're incapable of creating or manifesting their desired something, their better something, because it opposes the dominant atmosphere of their thoughts, the dominant vibration of their energy that they're flowing. Like, there's a whole lot of crazy in the world, and we're not getting any younger. Or it's easier to speak our physical truth than it is to stay focused on our higher truth. So what is the answer? How can we change what is to something that we prefer? First of all, we have to stop looking so much at what is. Because every time we look at it, every time we talk about it, every time we share it with somebody, we actually are amplifying it and magnifying it and multiplying it. So when we say, how far am I from what I want? It isn't about distance, and it isn't about time. It's about vibration. What is it, Michael Murdoch? You used to say we're on a journey of no distance from a place we never left. I used to have to ponder that. Distance, a journey of no distance from a place we never left. Of course not, because we still are fully connected with the truth of who we are and were before we took form in this body and who we'll be when we leave. So it's not about time and it's not about distance. It's about vibration, which means it's about emotion. It means it's about our feelings. That's what the ultimate law of creation comes down to. How far we are from anything means basically how good or how not good we feel about it, period. So when we talk about money and bills, how good do we feel about money? How not good do we feel about it? And it's that atmosphere of emotion that's ultimately going to interact with the law of attraction and create our life circumstances. So if we say we're joyful about it, then we're right on the doorstep of manifesting it. How far away are we? We're not far at all. We are right there. But when we think about a subject, if we say we're pensive about it, or we're worried about it, or we're disappointed about it, or we're frustrated about it, then we're far away from it. But not in terms of distance and time, in terms of vibration. And the wonderful thing about this that struck me so much is the understanding that we are only ever emotionally far from what we want. We're only ever emotionally far. If I think about money, I know what kind of money I'd love to have. I don't know there's many people in this room that wouldn't want just an unlimited abundance. of money at your discretion, right? How far away are we from that? And let me see, I'm retired and Social Security, and then my mortgage, and then I'm pretty far from that number that I see in my vision of the things I'd like to do. And how does that make you feel when you think that? Anxious, nervous, scared, insecure, happy, joyful, excited, anticipating all the fun you can have? So the way our feelings interact with any one topic at any time will influence, are we holding, are we centering, are we living, are we embodying that unlimited truth of who we are? And knowing that we're only a feeling away. I don't have to go out and get a job. The government doesn't have to give us a raise. There's nothing that has to happen out there in that world for me to be able to move closer to what is my desired outcome. The only thing that needs to change is my feeling about it when I think about it and talk about it. I can't make claims of I live in an abundant universe and the universe is unlimited, it is willing to give me, is loving, and that is the nature of God, and anything I want I can have, and I can claim all those things. But those are words that are claiming principle. I know that's the truth. I'm claiming it's the truth, and intellectually I absolutely believe it. None of that is enough to interact with the law of attraction and begin to manifest that shift in my experience. There's only one thing that will move me to that. Not time, not distance, but a shift in vibration. So at any singular point in time, we can literally evaluate how far we are from the truth of who we are, how far we are from enabling that unlimited goodness to flow into our experience. All we have to do is check in with our emotions and feelings and see where they are on that scale. And most practitioners will recommend that you begin first thing in the morning. As soon as you wake up, you begin to ask yourself the question of how far am I from a good thought? How far am I from having the thought that generates a joyous, a peaceful, and excited, and enthusiastic, some type of feeling that is on the positive end of the spectrum? That sounds kind of simple, doesn't it? I don't know about you, but honest to God, I feel like I'm not a practitioner or a knower of the truth at all when my little eyes gain consciousness in the morning. So the first thing goes, oh my God, that hurts. Oh, I just slept wrong by that little spot. I go, oh my God, it's going to be all day long before I get that. And I just feel it. I feel my brain go to the place of usually body first, next is duties. Doobies, oh my God, the doobie list. What time is it? Oh my God, I should be up and moving by now, right? Then it's what I'm doing. Why are you sitting here? You should be out. You should be calling people. You should be playing. You should be exercising. You should be swimming. You should. How many people go through these mindsets? And all of those would be absolutely harmless if they were in the context of my heart and my vibration being at a place of total joy and total peace and total comfort and total confidence, knowing divine order and right action in the universe, right? Just in that peace of that truth. But that isn't where our emotions go. Our emotions usually follow that thought line, and as does our physiology, and so we begin to feel that discomfort. So when we wake up in the morning, we simply start our practice by asking ourselves, how far away am I from finding a thought that makes me feel joy? If we start complaining, we know now we're moving further away from enabling the truth to manifest through us in more grandeur. So we look for a reason to feel good, and then we're getting warmer. And then we look for another feeling or thought to make us feel good, and we're getting warmer. If we look for another reason and another reason and another reason, what happens is we begin to develop some power and some energy around that more positive, more knowing the truth of who we are thought. So we're only ever just one small emotional adjustment away from growing good. Just one little piece of us has to come into vibrational alignment with that truth that will set us free. So we have to find a way to edit out the complaining and the worrying about what hasn't appeared, about the what is right now that we don't want to be experiencing, so that we can build up energy in that direction that we want to be pulled. If we can get our emotion moving in a joyful direction, truly on any subject, then we are getting warmer. I can want to see more financial flow in my life, but I can find joy on any subject. I don't have to think financially related ideas and find joy in that. If they feel negative, I have to steer away from them. But I can find joy about visiting friends. I can find joy about the cupcakes somebody gave me that I'm having for the dynamite breakfast. Anything that begins to lift our emotions in a way that we can tell that we just went on our little Richter scale from a 3 to a 4, we are moving closer to enabling the truth of who we are to manifest in greater ways in our life. So the last piece is just how do we shift that? So let's face it. Course in Miracles says there are only 2 possible voices to which we listen at any given moment in time, regardless of what's going on in our physical world. The voice of truth or the voice of false learning, the voice of untruth. If we listen to the voice of truth, we live truth. We embody love and joy and peace and harmony. But if we listen to the misinformed voice, the voice of untruth, it can't disturb God's peace and joy, but it absolutely will disturb ours. And I don't know about you, but I've had my fill of disturbance in my life, drama and trauma and things that I don't want. Wouldn't you agree that you've had enough disturbance in your life? So let's face it, we get out of our disturbances in life the same way that we got into them. We got into our disturbances because of the direction and the power of our thought and emotions. So we get out of our disturbances in life because of the direction and the power of our thoughts and emotions. So ultimately, we want to think good thoughts and generate good vibes. When I work with kids, I loved a book called TA for Tots by Alvin Freed. I don't know how many people are familiar with it. I'm sure you're familiar with the terminology. It taught both children and adults about feelings and how to express them. And they coined a couple of my favorite terms, warm fuzzies and cold pricklies. It made the point that feelings themselves were neither good nor bad. We felt good and wanted them when good things happened, or we felt bad and didn't want them. The book used lots of life examples, like how we felt good and felt warm and fuzzy all over when we got a compliment, when we got a hug, and how we felt bad and cold and prickly when we got a scolding or we got a spanking. And I think we all agree then, as children and now, when good is flowing in our lives, we do feel all warm and fuzzy. And when good is not flowing, we do feel kind of cold and prickly. We give it different names. It might be anxiety, it might be depression, it might be worry, it might be fear, it might be frustration, but we feel cold and prickly. Have you ever played that game when you were a kid, a hot cold, where you hide something in a room and someone has to come and find it, and you say you're getting warmer, getting hot, you're freezing to guide them in that area? Give them clues of how to move toward what they want. In the infinite wisdom of the divine creator, our emotions and feelings are our clues. They will guide us as to which of those 2 voices we're listening to. The voice of truth and possibility and infinite potential, or that voice that we've learned that has limitation around it. It will guide us as to how far we are from that transformation of embodying the truth of here we are. Now, this story of warm fuzzies and cold pricklies really in that embodies the obstacle to knowing the truth. You think about that. We learned our warm fuzzies and our desirable feelings, as well as our cold pricklies, or undesirable feelings, were subject to, meaning caused by external events. I got a hug, I got a compliment, feeling good. I got a reprimand, I got a spanking, feeling bad. So we learned the external environment was the cause of our feelings. Rather than learning external events, we're subject to our feelings. We're created by our feelings. Our warm feelings created those good experiences. Our cold, our angry, our frustrated feelings created those experiences. It's very hard to grasp that change in learning. Let's face it, when we don't get or have or do what we want, we feel bad, don't we? When I don't have what I want, I feel bad. I have not yet mastered feeling happy about not having what I want. Or feeling happy when I'm doing something I don't want to be doing. And when we feel bad, we literally block the flow of God's intended good into our lives, which, of course, makes our experiential, physical life have circumstances that we would describe as worse. And they then make us feel worse. And the worse we feel, the further we limit and block that flow of good into our lives. And then the cycle just kind of repeats itself with this maddening tenacity until eventually we stop the flow of good altogether, exactly where and when we most want it to show up in our lives. When we're truly faced with a trauma or illness or something we want to lift out of, at the time we want it most to show up in our lives, we have a wall built, which is part of that rut we talk about getting into. Let's face it, it is hard to grasp and accept our feelings are not reactive. Our feelings are proactive. It's very hard to get that through our mind, that our feelings are proactive, not reactive. I always use the analogy or the story of someone saying, how can you say that? That's just impossible. Husband and wife. Husband's at work, he comes home, he's looking forward to seeing the little woman, he's all smiling and happy and upbeat and took work out of his mind, and he walks in the door and the wife looks at him and he says, hi honey, and she goes, don't tell me you forgot the milk. Bam. Here he was, skippity-doo-dah. Don't tell me you forgot the milk. Bam. Down with his feelings, right? How can we say she did not cause that feeling? Isn't that what we believe? Well, of course we believe it. That's why we want to change people so desperately. If we could just change all the people on the other political side of the fence, if I could change the people in the family, if we could change everybody else, our feelings would be really much better, would they not? So we can't help but look into that external world and do the cause and effect. What happens out there causes what's in here. And as we learn in Science of Mind, in the creative principle, that's an impossibility. That, don't tell me you forgot the milk again, could not have happened without the feelings preceding it. Just because he walked in the door of Mr. Happy Sunshine at the moment, that's not what created this experience in the moment. What creates this experience that happens to any one of us in this moment, it's not who we are right now, it's who we were. It's what we did before. It's the feelings and attitudes and emotions and atmospheres we presented before. That's what's manifesting now. That very same situation, someone else could have walked in the door and had, don't tell me you forgot the milk. And they could have gone, oh my God, yes I did. Isn't that hilarious? This is about the 1,000th time. I'll be right back in a flash. And their emotions could have just gone up in a loving connection with that person, right? Wasn't the situation. It wasn't, we're not reacting to that. We are proactive. Our feelings are creating our interactions with people. They're creating our circumstances that we experience in life. And never are we reacting to it. That is just very hard to believe. But if we want to alter the most significant thing that will invite this flow of good to us, we have to know that. We have to give ourselves permission in all of our circumstances to have whatever feeling we have. Recognize it, label it, identify it, but to know that the pathway, to know that the practice is, what's the next higher feeling thought I can have? How, regardless of what's going on right now, can I lift what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking in this moment in time? If we can do that moment to moment to moment to moment, then we are getting warmer, 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 closer, 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 hot, burning up, we're there. Wouldn't that be nice? So feelings are neither good nor bad. Despite the fact that many of us have learned that. True, they're pleasant or unpleasant. They're comfortable or uncomfortable. They're desirable or undesirable, hot or cold. But they're all equally good. They're all equally God. So, hot or cold, our game of hot or cold is now really an essential spiritual tool. It's an essential spiritual practice to move us. How are we doing? To move us closer to that transformation is playing that game constantly with our emotions and let them guide us. Can I register? And I always see, you've seen me put my little drawings up. When I do this, I'm always seeing that 1 to 10 scale. I'm always seeing the 10 up there with the big sunshine and having that being divine energy that's peace, love, joy, happiness, and harmony. And I'm always seeing myself somewhere on that scale. And then questioning, what is it that can make me bump up in that scale? So play the hot or cold game. It can help us break these patterns of continuing to face reality and recreate a reality that we don't want, and face reality and recreate a reality that we don't want. We need to listen to what they're trying to tell us. Use the warm, fuzzy, cold, prickly. Warm, fuzzy, we're moving toward what we want. Cold, prickly, we can be certain we're moving away. And we're never denying that we've had legitimate life experiences that have had adverse effect on our thoughts and feelings. We're just saying we don't want to hang on to them. We don't want to keep those adverse effects. I recognize that happened, and I recognize it tweaked me, and I recognize that my emotions went from here to here. What we're saying is we don't want to give any more energy to that. That is not where we want to live. We now know that when thoughts don't feel good, it's not going to feel any better thinking about them longer. That's pretty profound, isn't it? How many of you have something going on that doesn't feel good, that you talk about 1,000 times a day? Even in your own mind, you just cycle. You go all the way through it in detail, and then you go right back to square one, and you go over it again and again and again. Has ever our repeating thoughts that don't make us feel good made us feel better? Never. And all it will accomplish in the law of attraction is to guarantee it's going to draw more like itself to us. So it's important to validate our feelings, regardless of whether they're warm fuzzies or cold pricklies. But it's also important to recognize that when we have cold, prickly kind of feelings, it's important to recognize our capacity and our necessity to move beyond them. That we can't find peace in just rolling around and enjoying the details of woe is me-isms. So how far are we away?
One thought.
That's right. We are not far in distance. We are not far in time. We are literally one thought that creates one lifting shift in our emotion. A journey of no distance from a place we never left. So my friends, your mission, if you so choose to accept this week, let's face it, we have more power and control than we're exercising. We're never really far away from the truth of who we are. We're never far away, that is our nature. There are only two possible voices that we can listen to at any time. One is the voice of truth. One is the voice of untruth or limited truth in the physical world. The good feeling, warm, fuzzy voice of inner truth, or the bad, cold, prickly feeling voice of facing and recreating our unwanted. And at any point in time that we can find ideas that lift our vibration, even though we're evidencing less than what we desire at any one moment, we are moving closer to what we want. Use the 17-second rule. I love that. I got that from Esther Hicks too. I didn't know that this was true, but they have all this quantum physics reality about neurology and physiology and all that piece that I love to study too. But you know, it takes 17 seconds for a thought to attract a like thought. Isn't that amazing? 17 seconds. So when you're down and you're depressed and you're so tired of fussing with this one thing, 17 seconds of a thought that you can tell will lift you even a little bit. You know, I really do believe in the truth of who we are. I really do have a sense that I can move away from this. I really do have a sense that there's a power in me that I haven't yet taken full advantage of. Any thought, 17 seconds, and it will automatically, neurologically speaking, begin to draw like thoughts to you. That's amazing. So, hot, cold, warm, cold. It's not about the distance, it's not about the time. So your job, if you so choose to accept it, let's face it. Play the hot-cold game. We're not the people that will deliver us to our destiny, but we are growing into them. We are getting warmer every day. And coming here and sharing ideas and lifting each other is one of the move up the radar scale past to that. So thank you very much for all of you here and in cyber place all the way in Saudi Arabia, I think was our furthest. So thank you for joining us and sharing that collective consciousness. We can't go back and make a new start, but we can start now and make a new ending. We are the people, now's the time, this is the way. Namaste, my friends.